Thank you for joining me today. I will be talking about disruptive learning methods and why we are bringing design thinking into learning and development. The talent economy is changing dramatically, and Eller Executive Education, the non-degree arm of the Eller College of Management, is really wanting to make a difference in the way that we help leaders think about their future roles, think about their organizations, and think about the impact that they're going to have on those organizations. We take our faculty novel insight and turn it into applications that help executives work in a more effective way. And we use a variety of methods, in-market experience, hackathons, things that bring the participant away from the traditional classroom format into a format that is a lot more conducive to the learner today. You can get a copy of these slides, of course, at eller.arizona.edu/CLO, or you can come and see us at the University of Arizona. Keep a copy, modify it for your reuse, but please attribute them to us if you find that the content is interesting to you. Let me start with asking you to consider what the learner is like. So this is the winning Olympic vaults 56 years apart, 1962 and 2012. There's a big difference between the two. Can you tell what the difference is? I'll make it easy for you. As you can see, the vault in 2012 is a lot more complex. There's a lot more revolutions, but it doesn't just end there. If you notice carefully, in the 1960 exercise, the lady is being helped by somebody who's assisting her to jump the vault. That's not the case in 2012. If you notice also, the infrastructure that is being used is a lot more, how shall I put it, is a lot more conducive to making bigger revolutions. And if you look also at the audience, there's a much larger audience, there's a lot of video being played. And if you think about the experience of, if you consider those two as learners, to get to where they were, they had to become better, more proficient at what they were doing. You can tell that the learner in 2012 had a lot more opportunities to resources that would help her make better decisions and become better at what she does. For starters, the availability of video, viewing the performance of others, viewing her own performance was a big opportunity to learn. And in that sense, if we think of our modern learners, they're very much like the Olympic vault medalist that we see in this picture. They're more capable of managing complexity in a way that we have not seen before. So when I ask you to complete this sentence and I ask you to think about what the start of the sentence is, what is disrupting learning and development is in fact not just open content and the availability of that, not just business practices and the fact that those are evolving and they're becoming more complex, not just technology, which obviously is making our life easier in many ways, not just analytics, and so the availability of data, the ability to view performance of others and to kind of look into trends and that the data provides, but it is fundamentally the learner that is changed and that is disrupting learning and development. So what we're proposing at University of Arizona at Eller Executive Education is user-centered design. Is this something that has been around without us being aware of it, in a way? In a sense, every age is focused on the learner itself. If we think back to over 1,000 years ago, in the first university created in the West, in Bologna, in Italy, the country where I'm from, you see that there was a natural response to the desire of learning that brought people together in a forum. But when it comes to today, we really need to evolve our practices. And we need to be thinking of the educational experience, as Tim Brown puts it, the CEO of IDEO, one that does not eradicate the natural inclination to experiment, but that rather creates and encourages that natural inclination to experiment and critically amplifies it. So in designing our programs, we are thinking of learning activities, but also the impact and the performance that that activity has on the users. And we create a virtuous circle where every learning activity is improved by the experience of the user. So in a step-by-step approach that we've taken at University of Arizona, we have looked, for example, at the need of one of our clients, DP World, a ports management company out of Dubai, and we've connected them with Hershey in China and created an experience in which the DP World executives acted as consultants who could help the Hershey team solve a problem. And in putting that through, we had to think about curation first. Are these the right teams to bring together? We then had to design the experience, and 5 different components were in fact set up so that we could achieve what we thought was a thorough design. So content, we had to think what the content was. We had to think what was the right methodology. In this case, we chose a hackathon. We had to think about the space and where this was going to take place. It couldn't be a classroom. It had to be at Hershey's offices in Shanghai. We had to think about the flow of the experience, and we had to think about the context. So what was that we were trying to accomplish in a wider context? And how could this experience enhance what the participants were going to learn, what the users were going to learn? So the execution really translated, as I was mentioning, into a hackathon. We incorporated micro-learning because we thought that the experience really needed to be about the participants rolling up their sleeves and trying things, offering suggestions. And the only thing that we did was to enhance their ability to learn was to create a learning framework so that they had an idea where we were trying to go. Ultimately, what we wanted to make sure we did was to create impact. And so we created a format that we call Insight to Action. Let me take you through what Insight to Action is. Insight to Action essentially forces the learner, the user, to think about what they learn, and so to synthesize the learning, to then think about how they were going to convert this learning into objectives, things that they would do at work. So I learned topic X, I want to find a way of applying it to problem Y that I'm seeing at work. Help them prioritize. So how are they going to spend their time and energy? And help them figure out how they were going to be accountable. Accountability is in fact a big issue here because we want to ensure that our users learn how to change. And in this context, we're providing a framework on how to do that, as well as then offer a following step, which we think is particularly compelling for today's learner, which is how do you advance change in others? How do you help others in their learning? And what are you going to take from your experience that is going to help others? Ultimately, if we did not do this, it would create an isolated experience, and learning is about sharing, especially today at times of hyperconnectivity. So to wrap it up, we created a user-centered design that allowed us to get the participants to think about their experience, the experience that they wanted to have, that allowed them to practically try out some learning through some micro-learning modules, and that ultimately made sure that the insight that they would get would be translated into action when they would go back to work. If you're interested in knowing more, please connect with us. We are at executive.eller.arizona.edu, and you can reach me personally at carella@email.arizona.edu. Thank you for taking the time. It was great talking to you today.